Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy Does It, a podcast created specifically for the amazing members of the MJ team. Rob and I are excited to be back with you today. We have a great episode for you. It's a guest host episode.
Oh, yeah.
So we're pumped about having someone else here with us today to bring you some good stuff.
Y'all, we got Rachel Griswold in the house.
Whoop, whoop.
We're pumped to have you here. You ready to rock and roll?
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah. We've been talking for probably 45 minutes before this bad boy started about a whole gambit of things. So we're excited. We're excited to bring everybody that good old Rachel energy. Let's make it happen. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Rachel, before we kick this thing off, we want to know a little bit about you. And so tell us a couple minutes about who you are.
Oh, that's a weighted question. We'll start from the beginning. So I'm just kidding. So I was homeschooled. I always think that's an interesting one. I think it gave me many different experiences and stories and perspectives. I grew up in a large neighborhood of like 25 kids, so I wasn't lacking on the social part, but just learning how things work in the world. It was very interesting learning everything from the bottom with my brother and sister. Speaking of which, I have two siblings. I am the youngest of the three. Homeschooled my whole life up until I was 16. I went to community college and got my GED. One thing I was sure of is I never wanted to go to college, ever. I never had a desire. It wasn't really talked about growing up. No one really in my neighborhood, of all the 25 kids I grew up with, no one talked about college. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my younger years. I grew up in church as well. For anyone who knows about Pentecostal, we could have a conversation about that later. But I grew up in a Pentecostal church. And when I was very young, I wanted to be a missionary up until I was probably like 14. And then my grandfather got really sick, and I started helping take care of him. I spent the night a lot and just took care of him, and then that made me want to be a nurse. Then as I got older, I realized I was actually terrified of shots and needles, and I was like, nope, can't do that.
Was that like since you were a kid, like you recognized that, or did it set in later?
Oh yeah, it was definitely as a kid.
Yeah.
I have a very vivid I do have a vivid imagination.
Yes, you do.
I have a very vivid memory of being 6 years old on a cold doctor's office chair table. I actually don't remember that one. Whatever it was cold, crinkly paper, so I guess the table. And it took 6 nurses to hold me down at 6 years old because they had to prick my finger. Absolutely terrified. I wasn't scared of anything else. I'd climb up in a tree. I remember for like my 12th birthday, I climbed up in a tree. It was dark at night. Climbed as far as I could, and the tree was like moving. And our like family was coming into the house, and I was like, ooh, ooh, like doing all these weird calls. They knew it was me, but they were pretending. They went along with it. But I was a little daredevil when I was little. When I was a year and a half old, my mom gave me the nickname Doogie. And here I am, 32, and she still calls me Doogie.
Really?
Yep.
Where did that come from? Is that like Doogie Howser? Is that what we're talking about here?
No. So when I was very little, she would call me Doo. And everyone thought she was saying dude. So then she was like, I got to change that. And she called me Doo because I was always doing something. So then it turned into Doogie. So I actually had it as my license plate for a long time.
Is that like Doogy?
I.E.
I.E.
Yep.
Got it. Doogie.
So yeah, I know that me and my mom are cool unless she says Rachel Eleanor, and then I know I am in trouble. But otherwise, as long as she's texting me Doogie or saying Doogie,
We're good.
We're good. Things are kosher.
Such an appropriate nickname.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still to this day, you're a doer.
Yep. So it came from, I wasn't the typical kid that got a toy and played with it for an hour and threw it to the side. I was the kid that was like using my teeth to take it apart. I wanted to know what was inside of it. Also, there is a home video, on the wonderful like VHSs. I was probably 3 or 4. We're open our stocking stuffers like tradition. I don't know, maybe that's for everybody. You open your stocking stuffers first. And the first thing I pull out is a little bag fun size of M&Ms. And, they're kind of, my parents, whoever's recording is like rotating back and forth between my siblings and I. And I disappear. I'm like gone. And they're like looking around with the video camera like, where's Rachel at? And I am behind the chair trying to rip open you know what? Screw the rest of the toys. Screw the rest of the stocking stuffer.
good.
It is 6 a.m. I want my M&Ms. This is mine. So in the actual recording, she's like, Doogie. And I'm like, I look up like a little scared possum in the corner. But yeah, so yeah, always into something. Going back to the college, didn't want to go to college. I did retail for almost 12 years, a mixture of inventory, sales, being a generalist, organizing, replenishing, just kind of all over the place. Cake decorator, produce. Like, honestly, if it's in a grocery store, other than the meat department, I 100% did it. I cross-trained. I love doing that. I wanted something challenging all the time. My favorite job was either a cake decorator or a cheesemonger.
Is that what it's called?
It is called a cheesemonger.
A cheesemonger.
It is.
Wow.
What does a cheesemonger do?
What do you think it does?
Mongers cheese.
If I knew what monger meant, I would give you a better answer.
She was in there.
Hey Siri, what does monger mean? So pretty much what it is have you ever been to like Harris Teeter and they have like a specialty like cheese kiosk where it's literally a donut of cheese? It's the person who works behind that. So you go to classes. I have tried over 1,000 types of different cheeses. You go to classes learning how to pair it, how to cut it, how to care for it, how's the proper way to wrap it, the life expectancy, what wine goes good with it, what fruit goes good with it. You just learn all kinds of crazy stuff. And yeah, it was actually offered to me just as like a temporary fill-in for someone. And I loved it. Oh my gosh. The conversations I had with people in cheese, the jokes I heard, just great. Like cutting a massive wedge of brie one time. This guy's like, you cutting the cheese? And I was like, yeah, it was great. It was a lot of interaction. It wasn't stressful at all.
Was it the interaction with the people that drew you into that? Was it the sensation of the cheese, like all the different types of cheese you got to try? Like, what was it?
I think everything. Just first off, when have you ever known anyone to eat cheese and be upset?
Not I.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So when you came over to me, boy, you were happy. I had samples for you. We were talking about cheese, totally nerding out for like 30 minutes about cheese. And the floral department was right beside it. So we were like, you want to get some flowers with that cheese? Here's the wine, da-da-da-da. So it's just easy. The easiest conversations I've ever had to have with people was about cheese.
Did you have a hairnet and everything?
I did. Well, I liked a hairnet, but it made my hair really frizzy, and I'm really particular about my hair. So I usually just wore a hat, but I did have to have something on my head at the time I had long hair.
I could see even the learning about all of those things really playing into your, maybe you did know it then, or maybe you didn't know it till you got here, but I can see how learning all of those things also kind of spoke to who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. They have these little cards, so now I hope when you people listening go in Harris Teeter, there's little cards sitting on top of the cheese. And it's very small writing, so take a magnifying glass. However, the information on there is really cool and easy to read. And like I would just get, if I was stocked, organized, everything was done, I would go around and just read the different cards and then try to like quiz myself. So when I talk to someone, I'm not looking at the card, I'm looking at them, talking about it. So yeah, I would agree that it was playing into that, unknowing I had no idea what that meant then, but
yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be kind of like choosing a favorite movie or something. Favorite cheese.
Favorite cheese.
Which one is it? Which one is the one that we have to try?
Oh, okay. I have a question before I can answer that. Are we talking about hot or cold?
I would say cold cheese.
Yeah.
Cold?
Yeah.
Boar's Head Chipotle Gouda.
Okay. Why?
It doesn't matter if you eat one piece or five. It smacks every time.
Okay.
It's a little heat, but it's a good heat.
I need to try that.
And making mac and cheese with it, like not all the cheese is in the mac and cheese, but maybe just like a quarter to a third, depending on your heat preference. I baked mac and cheese, so yeah, I ventured into the hot. Oh my gosh, it's great on a sandwich, a wrap. It doesn't matter eating it alone, but it is probably, I've had a lot of good cheeses, but it's probably one of my top favorites.
Boar's Head Chipotle
Gouda.
Gouda.
Yep.
I have to go to the grocery store tonight.
Yep.
Yep.
We're about to
You can get fresh slice in the deli, or you can get a chunk of it in the cheese kiosk.
still selling cheese.
She's the monger right now. The monger has not left you.
Well, what brought you? Tell us how you got here from the cheesemonger counter.
Oh man. So right before I started at Morris-Jenkins, I was a nanny, a full-time nanny, Monday through Friday. I kind of stepped away from the retail world, need to get my head together and figure out what the heck I was doing. And I figured something that wasn't as like swing shift hours and craziness and catering to people constantly, just one little precious boy I had to take care of. Now I have family that lives here, but I didn't have family at the time, and they became my family. I spent holidays with them, absolutely adored that family, had a great relationship with them. So I was a nanny full time, and then I did actually miss the interaction with people. So I started serving on the weekends at Fridays in good old Concord Mills. So the kids started going to school, so I wasn't nannying quite as much. So again, I started picking up more hours serving. And this one night in particular, it's now been 6 years ago, so I don't remember every detail, but what I do remember is I was waiting on this couple, super nice. I remember going to the back and telling my friends that I work with, I was like, dang, I wish every customer's like this, and I honestly don't even care if they tip me or not. I remember so vividly saying that. Just nice, respectful. When they asked for something, they typically had like everything they wanted. They didn't ask me 25 different times to keep running back and forth, and those kind of things as a server really stands out to you. And as they asked for their check, as I brought it to them, I was like, just saying like typical closeout conversation. And the gentleman asked something along the lines of, where do I see myself in 5 years, or what is my plan in 5 years? Something along that. And I didn't know how to answer it. So I was open and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I enjoy what I'm doing right now, but I really don't have a plan. So fast forward in the conversation, he introduced himself. And he said, I think you should join our team. And I was like, this is kind of weird. And I was like, who's your team? And he was like, it's called Morris-Jenkins. And I was like, he's like, you ever heard of us? And I was like, no. So at the time I was living in Concord, I've always rented. I never had a reason to call anyone for HVAC or plumbing. So I had no thought of this kind of world at all. And he had his wife's business card, wrote his name and number on it, handed it to me, and said, just check us out. Just check us out and see what's up. So I said, well, what do you guys do? And he said, HVAC and plumbing. And I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I know nothing about that. And he's like, you don't have to. He's like, in fact, I think you'd be a good candidate for the customer service world. He's like, or honestly, we have programs where we can teach you the trades if you're interested. Just check us out. That's all I'm asking you to do. So I went home. It was probably a couple of days that passed, and I went and looked it up. And oh my gosh, the YouTube videos, I went down a spiral, sitting out on my porch, I don't know how long I was out there, just looking at the culture, the videos, and I'm like, this is definitely a trap. Like, this is made up. This man is trying to trap me. Like, it just was odd. Like, people throwing water balloons, riding go-karts, like wearing a duck outfit. And I'm like, what the heck is this? There's no way this is real. So I applied, because why not? I have nothing to lose, right? Went in an interview, and I actually got interviewed by the warehouse manager and at the time the CSR manager. I got offered a job from both of them on the spot. Asked them a couple of questions about it, and at the end of it, I said, honestly, whatever one pays the most, that's what I want. I said, I don't really know if I can do a cubicle. So I went to the warehouse. I was in the warehouse for a year, and then I gandered into plumbing, doing the Build-A-Plumber program. And here it is, and actually 4 days would be 6 years ago.
That's insane.
Wow.
Who is this man?
Oh, well, I hope he hears this, because his interaction with me changed my life, and it is Mike Simons.
Oh, Mike Simons.
Yep.
That guy.
Thank you for bringing us Rachel, Mike.
Mike.
I text him every couple of months, and I'm like, just thank you. Like, he truly, I don't know if it's normal for his behavior to do that. I'm kind of assuming not, since he didn't have a card on him at the time, or maybe he was out because he gave them all out. But he definitely changed my life. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, no idea where I was going, and whether that was normal or abnormal for him, I don't think he had any idea what he did for me. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. You get a gold star.
Yep.
Yep. Mike's had a big impact on the company, and I even think about, a lot of the managers, the directors around here, they all have their own story and the people they've hired over the years. And I'm appreciative for Dewey creating a place like this, putting all his time and investment. And I'm sure we've all had some type of interaction with him. And usually every episode we do a Dew's News link, whether we read an old paper or if we go straight to Mr. Jenkins Told Me. What's your experience with Mr. Jenkins, or is there something that stands out to you with him?
Sorry. So an interaction with Mr. Jenkins. Oh my gosh, I remember. Again, now it's been this interaction happened about 5 years ago. I was in Build a Plumber, and it was during my lunch break. I was sitting in the cafe, and I was doing some studying, and he walked in, and I immediately froze. Like, my whole body got stiff. I don't know what happened there, but my whole body got stiff, and I was like, that's him. So I'm just like really like pretending to be reading, but I'm not really reading because I can't concentrate on the fact that he just walked in this cafe. Like, I have never worked at a company where like you saw the like top dog, like it's not a thing. Like, you see their picture on the wall and that's it. It's covered in dust and that's it. So anyways, I was in there studying. He walks in, he gives that smile everyone knows, and I'm just like almost hyperventilating, and he gets his coffee, and the next thing I know, Mr. Jenkins is pulling out a chair in front of me and sitting down, and I'm like, okay, play it cool. Like, there's just so many thoughts. It is just like kind of like the white noise in my ears. And he just casually says something along the lines of either, I can't remember if he said, how's the weather today? Or we have nice weather today. Just something just so laid back and just sat there smiling. And I was like, it's good. But I know we talked about other things, but the only thing that I can really remember right now is how blown away I was that someone of so much importance sat down and talked to me about something so casual. It wasn't about business. It wasn't anything pressing. It wasn't coming to drill me or tell me to straighten up or do something better. It was just the most laid back conversation. And even to that point, so mind you, this is a year being employed, I still had, I was still kind of like, this place they're hiding something. I found out they were just hiding Mr. Jenkins, someone so wonderful.
They were hiding something.
Yes, that's what they were hiding. That was when I really felt a click of like dedication and love and passion for working here, is just seeing someone who in a typical business did not have to do something like that. And that really shifted my just whole thought process and perception of what's going on with this company.
Yeah.
It made me want more, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that such a small act is so indicative of how Dewey wanted this company to be run. People first, and it's that no one is so good that they can't sit down and just talk with anyone or speak to them in the hall. Or I think it's just so interesting that just one tiny interaction is such an example of the way that he led and the way that really our culture is that when you walk in here, I think people just feel that. People smile at them. People say hello to them. People open doors for them. People say, how are you doing today? I mean, it is so, that one little tiny interaction is so indicative of what we feel is the way we're supposed to treat people here. And it's so different than anywhere else. I can't say I haven't worked in a lot of places. Obviously, I was in the school system and then I came here. And in the school system, it is very much that way. I mean, it's a lot like it is here. If you're obviously in the right school, but I still think it's so different than I think what people experience in other places.
Yeah, I do think the culture here, I mean, it speaks for itself and you can feel it and taste it. I mean, you see it pretty quickly when you walk in the door. I remember when I first got hired here and I was just turning in my resume, talking to the lady at the front desk, our old recruiter. Her name was Tookie Harto. I'll never forget her. She came in, she talked to me, she brought me in, And then I met some of the people, and then they took me for a tour, and I'm like, why is everybody so nice? This is really weird. I got hired. I came in, and they sat me with dispatch. They're laughing. Old Max was down there. They're laughing, having a good time, and I'm like, how much are they paying you to do this? And then I went and met with the CSRs, and they showed me the trainer at the time, and I'm like, something has got to be up. And it took me a while to figure out they're not hiding anything. It's just the way they are. And if you're happy to work somewhere, you get infected with that too. It's like, crap, this is a good place to work. So I know Dewey set the tone, but that culture lives in everybody. When you set that tone, you attract those same people. And we have people like you now, Rachel. Look at you.
Heck yeah.
That's right. I was going to ask that question. How do you all think that we continue that culture as we get bigger? I mean, obviously, I don't see all 600 people that work here at Morris-Jenkins every day. If I did, I would say hello and smile at all of them. But how do we, as we continue to get bigger, continue to put what Dewey wanted first?
Smoke is leaving her ears right now. I know for me, I do recognize that when you see the culture or you see something like that, you want to live up to it too. Because you definitely don't want to be the odd person out. But I do recognize that when people believe in a cause like that, then you give more of yourself to continue that cause. I know when we're reading The Infinite Game with Simon Sinek, they talk about a just cause. And when you truly believe in it, then you give more than just what's required. You give more of yourself to continue it because you believe in it. And I know all of us in this room and everybody at this company believes in the just cause that we have and are striving to continue it. If you didn't, then you start to silo yourself off. You'll bubble yourself off and just say, y'all can do what you want to do and I'm going to do my own thing. But I don't see that. I see people believing in it. So I think that's how you maintain that culture and keep it moving forward.
I think if in agreeance with you, I think my crazy brain actually pictured something, because now I got to picture something. I'm a very visual person. I pictured a conversation. I don't remember which of the podcasts it was on, talking about the stumpy tree. I don't remember which one that was, but that just specific thought. And then I'm looking at this Candyland map that Rob has in his office, and there, to me, it looks like a stumpy tree, or it's from Candyland. But I think for me, what makes people stay and what maybe, for lack of better words, weeds the people who don't fit out is the difference between what you're fertilizing yourself with. And that's our culture. If you don't want to grow, if you don't want to be competitive, if you don't have trust, you're eventually going to be what we refer to as a stumpy tree. You're not going to grow. And the kind of thing you stand out as is something people trip over. It's not a thing you want to stand out as. So for me, in my personal experience with Morris-Jenkins, what's made me want to stay is the awesome team I work for. They're my family. The trust that I receive from my team and from fellow coworkers every day. The opportunity for growth and just feeling like there is no top. I've never worked at a job. I have worked at jobs where I could do different things, but I always knew there was a top. Here, I've never felt that there was a top. It is constant, whether it's, hey, I'm kidding, kind of, I feel like I'm kind of in a part of just redundancy at my job. All I have to do is just go talk to Shawn about it. And she's like, okay, what do you want to do? Where's another avenue? What crossroads are you at? What can I do to help you? And to me, that's exactly what I need. I need that fertilizer to help me growing and moving, and it's always there. I have yet to pick up my container and it's empty. So for me, that's why I think who stays, and who stays are the good ones.
I love that analogy with the fertilizer. I'm going to have to add that to the stumpy tree analogy some way, somehow.
Yeah, that's definitely a new angle. I haven't heard that. So you say the fertilizer. What is the fertilizer? Our energy, or is it our attention? What is the fertilizer to you?
Well, being in different roles in the company, I do think that there are some core things for everybody, but I do think it's very important to emphasize that depending on which department and day-to-day duties you have, that perception of that person's fertilizer will be different. Like I might think I know what blank does or needs, but until I get to know them or work closely with them, what I think they may need may not be it. So as far as just like a generic, like everyone needs this, definitely trust. That's at least the first thing that comes to my head. It's if you don't think someone trusts you or you don't trust them, it is incredibly hard for you to go anywhere. So you remember when you were little, the trust fall, something that simple. I would not do it if the people that even one of the 5 people I'm falling into, I didn't trust, I would not do the trust fall. For me, number 1 is trust. And I think if I had to pick a second one is just simply knowing what's expected of me. I will jump off a cliff if I trust you and I know what you expect of me, or if I trust whoever's guiding me to jump off that cliff and I know what's expected at the bottom. I'll do it. I'll do anything if I know those 2 factors. Mm-hmm. So that's to me the core of the fertilizer, the 2 first ingredients, if you will.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to say trust, knowing the people that you're falling into. I mean, trust is a really, really big piece of how we intend to spend our time or our energy. And I know on our team, the training team, there's a lot of trust that's there. We can say what we need to. We can tell each other like it is or back each other up. And I know there's a lot of teams at Morris-Jenkins that really do trust each other. But when it comes to strong, high-performing teams, we just go back to the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Really strong, trusting teams, they have that foundational layer that allow them to continue to push forward. But if you don't have trust with each other, you're going to fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like wrapping a Christmas gift with no tape.
Mm.
I like that mental visual.
Rachel's literally the absolute best at coming up with a visual picture.
It's like sliding cheese across the counter without I don't know where I'm going with that.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yes. I have a question for you. Kind of goes along with this, but also going back to your story, because you have experienced Morris-Jenkins in a couple of different ways. What would you say to people who are starting out here like you did, and you started in the warehouse, another opportunity piqued your interest, you took advantage of that. That was Build a Plumber. Then after Build a Plumber, another opportunity piqued your interest, that was training. And now from your perspective, what would you say to people who are starting out here like you did?
In like general or like a specific role?
I think in general.
Be bold. Absorb everything. Ask questions. And if you don't like what you're doing, then find out what you are passionate about and find that little nook, that little cranny, have a conversation. Life is too short to be doing something that you don't enjoy, even work. I can tell you if I didn't enjoy this job, I would not be doing it. It's when I come to work, I want to enjoy it. It doesn't mean it's easy. Hear me clear. It's not easy. A lot of times I have conversations with you guys as support because it's stressful. So there's a big difference between things being like, I don't know how to explain it. Enjoying what you do and it being easy are not the same thing.
Yes.
So I think if I had to give advice for someone who's like, I don't know what I'm doing, or maybe I don't really care for what I'm doing, or I want more, is, I absolutely hate this saying, but in this moment it's what's coming to my head. The world is your oyster. And the world in this specific context is Morris-Jenkins. There's so many avenues of being out in the field, to purchasing the things for the people who are out in the field, to giving the parts to the people in the field, to answering the calls it's just obviously all field related, but there's so many avenues, and we love to promote and hire and grow from within. So that is my best advice, is if you find yourself not being as happy, or maybe you're happy but you're hungry, is ask yourself first, what actually is going to make me happy? Because no one can give you that answer. You have to figure that out. And then talk to your leader, talk to someone you trust, game plan, talk about something, and figure out what's next. Don't settle for less. So There's a lot I could tell somebody who's new, but don't settle for less. Be hungry, be bold, and do what makes you happy.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading Love Plus Work by Marcus Buckingham right now. That's also in the library. And he calls those red threads. So you look for the red threads, the things that you enjoy doing, your loves is what he calls it. So obviously, even taking what you did before with the cheesemonger, there's a couple things that stick out to me. Like, I'm not trying to tell you your red threads, but this is what I see.
Tell me.
So you like interacting with people. That was one reason why when you were doing the nannying job, you went back to do something where you could interact more with people. That might be your red thread. You like learning things. I know that because I work closely with you, but also, too, the cheese thing has now just sparked this other thing in my memory about how that's been a red thread for you. So he says, find those red threads. And I guess I understand the red thread is like, because it's like you keep pulling it. You know, you keep pulling the thread. That's this love of yours. And if you keep pulling the thread, then you find yourself with more and more opportunities to do the thread. Doesn't mean the thread is always easy. Doesn't mean you spend your entire day every day doing the thread that you love. But it's always, you always have a portion or even a small portion of your day where you have the opportunity to work on your thread or pull your thread. He even says, which I did this morning after my 5-5s, looking forward to the day and saying, where am I going to get to use my red thread today? So like for today, for me, where one of the places I'm going to get to use my red thread is right now. Because I love talking about these things. I love bringing this stuff to other people. So even setting yourself up to use your red thread during the day so that you get some piece of that every day. You get to work on doing something you're good at and you love every day.
I have a question about that red thread. Is it specifically identified as a red thread because it's referring to that the thread is bonding something?
Or maybe it's interwoven into your daily or just your life.
Maybe the thread piece is like because it's such a part, it's tying you.
Yeah, your being.
It's tying you to what you love. And the book is called Love Plus Work. So going on, like with the plus sign.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what I think maybe the red thread is. How do you pull all of that together? How do you weave together your love with your work, with who you are, with your relationships?
Huh.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like values, but like passion values.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
Yeah. Love Plus Work.
Love Plus Work.
If we didn't need another book to read, now you.
As long as it's on an audio, because I
No,
know I
we
can't
do.
do the reading.
Rachel, you have had me captivated for a week, maybe a week and a half. So for those of you that don't know, we met with Rachel maybe about a week and a half ago at a Starbucks. And we were talking about what we want to talk about today. And I think we spent probably the first like 30 minutes chatting about different ideas and different things and talking about coffee and whatnot. And then an idea came to the surface of what to talk about this time. And it was about perception. And I've been thinking for a week, what in the world are we going to talk about and what's going to pop out of that lovely brain of images that you have. And so wanted to ask you, when you think of perception, what was the thing that piqued your interest and wanted to talk about that today?
Oh gosh, so many things. And I have a question for you, so I'm going to answer yours quickly. Perception hit me like a train because I think it changes everything. And when I say everything, I literally mean everything, even to how you breathe, to what you eat. I think it's just, it will change your life. So I don't want to say more than that because I want to ask you something.
Okay.
What is the difference between perception and perspective?
Okay. So I was watching a video, and this guy, he says he's a CIA operative or an agent or something like that, which I don't really know what that means. Sounds super secret squirrel. But he said perception is how we see things, how we interpret the world around us. But then perspective is almost like a fixed point. It's almost like reality is reality. So he said he argued I think his name was Andrew Bustamante. I think that was his name. So he said that if you see a car coming down the road and you say, my perception is that it's just a car coming, but it's going to miss me, it doesn't matter, because perspective would state that that car is going to smack you. Like, I don't care what you believe, this is what's going to happen. So from the way I interpret that, or at least the way I see it, is perspective is your seat in the stadium of like what's happening, but your perception is how you interpret that from your seat in the stadium, what meaning you make of that. So my mental image is thinking about sitting in a football stadium. I can see the game and I know I'm watching a game, but how I interpret that game is going would be dependent upon which team I'm rooting for. So at least that's where my mind goes.
Interesting. How about you, Meredith?
Well, I got to answer this question earlier because she already asked me, which was really great because I would not have had quite as clean of an answer as you just gave. So I think, which I did look this up after we talked, so I got a little bit more time to think about it than you did, Rob.
Great.
And I wrote this down because I think this captures how I feel. Our perception of our reality is ours and ours alone. No one else sees reality the way that we do. I actually don't even think we see reality for what it is, honestly. But I think our perception controls our perspective. I think it's like they build. Perspective is built upon your perception. So that's where I finally settled on that, was that our perception controls our perspective. That's my final answer.
So what do you think, my friend?
Well, after the thought hit me at Starbucks and I was like, I want to know more about this because I need to properly prepare and I want to make sure I know what the heck I'm talking about. So I did a deep dive and went down many, many bright and dark corners. In a nutshell, to me, perspective is your own thoughts and feelings within your own brain. And perception is the ability and desire to understand someone else's point of view.
You say and desire. What do you mean?
If I have an interaction with someone and I ask them a question and I do not desire to actually know their answer, I'm still living in my own perspective. I have not opened up the ability for perception and openness to be there. You ever been asked a question and you feel like it was really intentional because they were looking for a really specific answer and it didn't feel good? In my brain, my perspective is they have an intention to only seek out and validate their perspective. So when you ask an open question and you genuinely want an open answer, that's because your perception is open to wanting to know how I desire to actually know your thoughts or feelings or experience based off what I've asked you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that piece because I would venture to say that often people are asking you questions not because of just sheer curiosity, but because they're trying to prove their own perception or perspective, depending on how we look at that. They're just trying to prove it to themselves, that confirmation bias, which, I mean, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I mean, it's expected. Not a lot of people, let me rewind that. Some people are interested out of curiosity and they want to know what your perspective is and where you're coming from and why you feel that way. in a neutral or universal space versus trying to prove that their perspective is correct. I was watching another guy. He was like a guru, and he says, your perspective and my perspective is really just trying to prove your distortion versus my distortion.
Yep.
And that hit me hard. I'm like, that's really interesting. But he said perception is really just a universal perception of removing your distortion to see reality for what it actually is, which that just ties right back into awareness of, are we truly aware of what reality actually looks like? What you were saying, Meredith. Are we truly aware of what that is, or are we simply slipping back and forth, or really just staying in our own distortion all the time?
It's a deep thought.
I don't think any of us accurately know what reality is.
Yeah, no, me either. When I did this deep dive of like this perspective versus perception, I know some people is going to chuckle at this because I've had this conversation, so I'm going to put it out there. I have said this. Up until, the week and a half ago, we went to Starbucks, something along those lines. I have had such a negative perception of how people treat us when we're in a company car. Pulling out in front of you, riding your tail, like when they're merging and you can't get over, like they'll just cut right in front of you and you have to slam on brakes and you're like, it's going to hit my driving, whatever. Anyways, I have been so ever since.
Here comes Dominique.
Yeah. That was for you, Dominique.
Yeah, so I've definitely had a incredibly negative just thought process of like, they're doing it because they can get away with it. They're doing it because we're in a company vehicle. And oh my gosh, when I started knowing the differences between these two, it happened this morning on the way to work. Someone pulled right out in front of me and I was like, try not to hit my brakes too hard. And I started challenging myself to think differently. What instead of why the heck did they do that? They're just trying to piss me off. I'm starting my day negatively. I started thinking differently. What if they did that because they know Morris-Jenkins and they trusted that I would not get on their tail, that I would not rage. They trusted our company and that billboard that I'm driving to do the right thing and let them in, even if it wasn't exactly easy for me because I had no option to get over. And I've been thinking about that for a solid week when I've been driving, and it has changed my journey of going out, going home, going to someone, being at a gas station. Like, I cannot believe how just adjusting my thoughts to, instead of being within my own head, so my perspective, to being what's their perception of why they did that. Mm-hmm. And I could not believe, I've had many conversations with Tex about like, don't you love, negative. Don't you love when people pull out in front of you and then you get in trouble for a hardcore braking alert? But oh my gosh, it changed it so much. And whether that's true or not, it at least makes my day better. So I'm going to keep thinking that regardless.
Yeah. Because hear me clearly say, have I changed lanes? Possibly. And I shouldn't have. Yes.
In front of a Morris-Jenkins vehicle.
No, that's not true. I would never put one of my colleagues in that situation. But even thinking, I'm just thinking right now, how you said your perspective changed. Like sometimes in the morning when I'm on my way to work, I'm so in my head. I'm thinking about what I need to do today. I'm listening to a podcast. Like I've been listening to Love Plus Work. So many things are going on in my brain. That's not an excuse. But sometimes, this doesn't happen frequently also too, FYI. If I go over into another lane, it's not because I'm trying to cut anybody off. It's not because I'm trying to do anything I shouldn't do. It's literally just like I have a brain full of stuff. Like what's going on at the house? What do we have going on this weekend? I'm trying to listen to this and do some professional development work on my way to work. And it's just like my brain is full and I'm just like, got to get over, change lanes. Oh, shoot. And then I'm like, sorry, I'm sorry. But the person in the other car likely does not think, this woman's coming over on me because she's got like total mom brain this morning and her head is just full of stuff. But they think just like I think when people pull over into my lane. I'm ready to cuss somebody out. So I think it's really interesting that just that shift in thinking can completely change how we view that whole situation.
But what do y'all think makes our reaction what it is when that moment happens? Not us doing it to them, but them doing it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we really saying with that?
I think it's an emotional response. We've talked about on here before, like that moment, and maybe Rachel can speak more to this if she's been working on this, but it's like anytime we have this sort of situation where we have a moment, it's like you got to catch yourself real quick, because my emotional response is you just put me in danger. You bringing your car over into my lane and me having to slam on brakes just put me in danger. So that's like, it elicits a response that is like a survival response. And I think that's why we initially feel threatened. It's like our safety feels threatened. So it takes a second to get over that initial emotional response. I think you'd really have to train your brain to not go there first. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but
this is the story I'm telling myself.
My neuroscientist brain says that's why we do that.
In Meredith's word, let me research that.
I'll get back to you guys on.
Hit pause. Yeah, I think our perception of that moment, I mean, when we get mad at somebody doing that, we're not fully understanding the moment, or maybe we are. They're being a jerk, and I think our mind typically goes to that. But it's my path, my journey is more important than yours. Why are you doing that? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you plan for that? And it's just essentially their perception. I mean, you go back to disc styles. It's always funny looking at the natural style versus the adaptive. And that funny video, the guy saying there's different disc styles when people are driving. You have the planners that merge 5 miles ahead of time because that's what you need to do and you need to plan for. Then you have the high eye that's like, whoop, almost forgot, and you merge over. I was changing the radio station, jamming out maybe to Ruby Red. And then you have the high S that's like, oh, just come on in, I'll let you in, right? So each person thinks differently in that moment. But if we're in a hurry to get somewhere or someone changes our plan, why do we immediately go towards whatever we do? Some of us, it's easier. It's like, oh, it's fine, I'm not in a hurry. And then others, it's like, what the heck are you doing? It's kind of interesting to think about that.
I have a thought with that, but before I share that thought, I have a question for you guys. Have y'all seen Monsters, Inc.?
It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you, either or both, what do you recall about like the core concept of that movie?
Scare people, fill up the scare meter, right?
The purpose of the monsters is to scare. I don't know what happens.
They had the little tank that filled, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it changes because the one little girl, Boo, Boo then...
You've been holding out on me. You know exactly about this movie. Don't play dumb up in here. I know you watched it last night.
They go into her room and she laughs. She laughs instead of being scared.
Do you think she had the same, from what you can recall, do you think she had the same interaction with that monster that came in her room as all the rest of the kids that were terrified and screamed?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
So what's the difference?
Her perception. Mm-hmm. Perception. She interpreted the monsters as funny, whereas everybody else interpreted them as scary. She flipped a script. Boo flipped the script on him.
I just flipped the script. I forgot how the rest of that song goes. But yes, that's, I was watching it the other day and I was like, this just ties right in. Because I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. That is it. That is like the last bit of little sprinkle sprat I was waiting to have this whole ingredients bubbling and ready to go, is in truth, everyone is dealing with life in whatever kind of way, right? We could talk about that all day. But the point is like everyone has life. What really shifts and changes things, at least in my own perspective of it is how you view it. And I know that it's so simple, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not the situation, like thinking about Boo, thinking about everyday life. It's not the specific situation that's causing negativity. It's your perception of that situation. And I know that's such a simple phrase to think that, but I mean, I could give you 100 million examples. Someone who gets diagnosed with cancer. Like, how many people have you seen that really shifts their perspective of like, what am I going to do with this? I can tell you right now, I'm going to mess up the facts on this one, but last night I was watching TikTok, and it was this girl who, half of her hair was missing. Her legs were gone. One of her arms was completely mangled. She had one hand. It caught my attention because she looked different. And she was telling her story. And I can't remember all of her story, so I'm just going to tell you from what I do remember. But it was something along the lines of she was in kindergarten. They were having nap time. And a guy driving had a seizure and passed out. And his car went through the preschool and landed on top of her. And it almost killed her, obviously. She starts to kind of heal from that. And I cannot remember, I'm regretting now not paying more attention to the details, but it was something else that happened to her. Something about walking on the side of the road, and her mom was pushing her in the stroller, and a car hit her in the stroller. Like, 2 major crazy accidents, and she was so positive. Like, just her perception of life and what had been handed to her was just astounding to me. And I cried because I'm a little sore because I started going back to the gym recently. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let me rejoice in that. Let me rejoice in that pain, because I am healthy. I am well. I have a brain that I think thinks clearly for the most part. I don't know. It's kind of crazy sometimes. But just, there's so many things in life that you can be so negative about. But what the heck is that going to give you? What kind of like actual long-term benefits is there? And I can guarantee you can't give me one. So whether you're a tech in the field, like going in and out of the same houses all the time, which I could never tell you thank you enough, but like holding on to like why you're doing this, keeping that core of like what your perspective is and what your perception is for that customer is so incredibly important. Doing the same thing day in and day out. I obviously could talk about this forever, but it's just something to think about, is like when you have something that might be bad, think about how can it be good. Force yourself to get into that habit of like, even if it doesn't seem like there's anything, dig for something, even if it's just something the size of a mustard seed. So tiny. Look for something positive in it.
I think your girl, Jen Sincero, you know what I'm about to say, don't you?
Maybe. Do we pick out the same quote again?
Say it.
I don't know.
Say it.
This is good.
Oh, this is good because...
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, this is good because, yeah, she also says, because, you know, I don't think I've gone a episode yet without quoting her, which I have a couple of quotes here that I love and I think will go right along with what you're talking about, Rachel. It's just as easy to believe you're awesome as it is to believe that you suck. So why do we choose to believe that we suck? It's just as easy to believe this call's terrible. This day is going to be horrible. You know, whatever it is, it's just as easy to believe it's going to suck as it is to believe that it's going to be awesome. So why wouldn't we choose to believe that it's going to be awesome? Now, if you've been turned down on a few calls, let's just use calls as an example. If that's happened or whatever, you haven't been able to figure out what's going on, it's kind of stumped you. But I can see how your past experiences would kind of start leading you down this path. And I do think that's what happens. We have past experiences, which then they kind of skew our perception, or they make us think one way, and then we look for things to confirm that we were right. So, but I think just like you were saying, and just like we've talked about before, you gotta catch that. You gotta catch it, and that's hard. But before you walk into that customer's house, or before you walk into your home, until you walk into your house tonight, you got to catch yourself and say, what am I holding on to right now that I need to let go of? Because tonight can be awesome or it can suck, and I get to choose.
But I think what's important with that is recognizing that you have a choice when you may not recognize that you do, because those perceptions that we have, the feelings that we have, they came from somewhere. When you're earlier in childhood, from 0 to 7, you're absorbing information. You're just taking it for what it is. 7 to, I think it's 12 or 13, you have the ability to reject information. And then from 13 to 25, when you've reached puberty later in life, you're still sifting, but you're able to block things out and say, I choose not to believe that. But since those things are so ingrained in who we are, when we age and we find that these moments pop up, you may not recognize that you have a choice to say, hey, I'm great. I am going to be great. This is going to be good, because you still may have the perception and that deep-rooted thought, and not recognizing you have it or being aware of it, that this is going to suck. Because unless somebody points it out to you, you just go about your day and you get presented a circumstance, it gets slid across the table, and you're like, oh, great. You might not say this is going to suck, but all right, I'll take care of it. You're already doing it in your head. You have the same choice, but you may not recognize that you have the choice. You're asleep. You don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in Crucial Conversations, they talk about how others don't make you mad or sad or angry or happy. You make you mad or sad or angry or happy. You and only you create your emotions. And so I think I think a time or two I've said, someone else, no names will be mentioned, Michael, has made me...
Leave that man alone. What did he do?
No, he's actually been really great.
He's been great lately, since he knows I have a platform now.
I have said a time or two that he, or maybe my beautiful children, have made me frustrated, angry, and also the opposite. Happy, joyful, whatever words you want to use, but at the end of the day, that's not really accurate. My thoughts and my feelings are mine and mine alone, and I am the only person who can be in charge of them. So I have to make that choice to be mad, sad, angry, happy. I get to choose that.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
That's tagging on to what you said about 20 seconds ago, and you were talking about emotion. What perception is keeping you back due to the vulnerability that could be attached to it?
Say it again.
What perception is holding you back due to the vulnerability that could be attached to it?
Well, I can tell you one of mine that I know right off the top of my head, which you guys are probably our listeners are becoming more and more aware of. I have the perception of being perfect in a lot of different ways. I expect my work to be perfect. I expect my parenting to be perfect, which, newsflash, it never is. So it forces me to be vulnerable, to ask people how I have not lived up to that perfection. Like this podcast in and of itself, I'm not always going to sound perfect on here. I'm going to stumble over my words. The very first episode, I said, no less than 10,000 times. And so I'm putting myself out there. This is very vulnerable for me because my perception is that this is not going to be perfect. And it's not perfect. And so I think that's one of my own perceptions of myself and of my work, is that it needs to be perfect. And so it requires some vulnerability to put myself out there to have that perception questioned.
In your perspective, what is imperfect to you? Like, why is that, if I may ask, why is that such a fear?
Because my high C doesn't want me to fail ever. So if you're perfect, you can't fail. because failure is it's a direct reflection on that. That's the distinction, right, that I have to work really hard on, is that when I fail, it's not that I am a failure. Meredith is not a failure. It is this piece of my work didn't turn out so great. Or this decision that I made with the girls probably wasn't the best one, right? So it's not that I myself am not worth it, that I myself am not that I can't fail. It's trying to distinguish myself between my work and my parenting and all the other things in my life. I am a good person. Because I fail doesn't make me any less good, if that makes sense.
Have you learned, do you have any tips, let me reword that, do you have any tips for our listeners on who also feel that way, on how you navigate kind of resting in the uneasy?
I think it takes practice. I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about being bold. I think it takes just putting yourself. I am truly fortunate because I have people around me, YouTubing, 2 of them, that I know wholeheartedly if the podcast fails, you're still going to love me. You're still going to welcome me every day to Morris-Jenkins with open arms. Michael's going to do the same thing. My kids are going to do the same thing. My parents are going to do the same thing. No matter what happens, if something flops or fails, I have so much trust in the people that are around me that I don't question how they're going to feel about me if it fails. So I think maybe what I'm saying is find you some people that will have your back regardless, and then try some things that could fail, because unless you're trying things that could fail, you're not really pushing yourself to the place where you have to be in the uneasy.
That's it's interesting you say that. It reminded me of the saying, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind.
Yep.
And it also is, I am anxious to hear Rob's response to that question. But it is interesting to me how we get along so well, yet I don't like to fail, but I feel so much differently about the perception of it not being perfect. And of course, again, I don't want to fail in anything, but I almost like the thrill of the heat and like uncomfortability and I don't know, the rush of it. I don't know. I have actually no idea how to explain that.
Is there something that you do mind? Like she minds about it being perfect, quote unquote, but for you, is there something that you do mind about?
I do, and I actually, my wife got me a journal that I fill out every day, beginning of the year, and it's called Inside Out. If you want to get uncomfortable, if you're having a hard time figuring out how to get uncomfortable,
if you want to get the cheese sweats,
buy it. Yes. Cheese, meat sweats, gym sweats, sneaker sweats, socks, all of it. Oh my God, all of it. My hands are actually sweating right now thinking about it, but there's the first 3 months it focuses on self-awareness, and it asks a lot of hard questions, and it pretty much just asks a question very similar to what you just asked me. And I have narrowed it down to, I'm not really worried about being perfect, but I do worry a lot about someone thinking I had a bad intention if I do something that's hurtful or wrong. I care a lot about that. And it's not necessarily like, I want you to like me, or I want us to be besties, or nothing like that. It's more of like, I can be very blunt sometimes. And if I'm comfortable with someone, I trust them to say, hey, you crossed the line, or chill out a little bit. Like I trust, but if I don't have that trust with someone or relationship with someone, or maybe they don't know they can be that bold with me, or maybe they didn't have an interaction of something. Maybe I made a comment and they were just kind of like, okay. It bothers me because I'm like, did they not understand my intention when I meant that? Like I was joking or whatever. That was the first thing I wrote down in the journal when it asked me that. Like I can't remember exactly what the question was, but it was pretty much like, what bothers you? Something like that. And I mean, of course you could take that question many ways, but my first thought was when someone didn't understand my intention.
Yeah, going along the lines of intention, it's similar to that, but it does talk about intentions. I saw a video clip the other day, and the gentleman was talking about confidence and where that comes from for people. And typically people base confidence on their abilities, what they can do in this life. And he says something that corrected his thinking, or at least maybe challenged it. Maybe it's not correct, but it sounded pretty good. He says, confidence comes from intentions, not abilities. So abilities, maybe your ability to do things works for you, but what happens when those abilities get taken away? Something that I rely a lot on is being able to do certain things. But what happens if you get hit by a car and you can't do those things anymore? Does your confidence change? For people, it typically does.
That just made me, and maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly, but that just made me realize, does that bother me about not knowing my intentions is because I don't have that relationship with them. And I weigh heavily on my relationship with someone to be who I am. That's crazy. Also, you're not getting away from that question.
Dang it.
So let's reel it on back. And let's No. I saw your slick Rick self trying to just
throw out a really thought-provoking quote.
No, ne français, as Shallon says.
So you were talking about cheese earlier. I think I had to really think about that one, and we've kind of talked about it a while back, and it's something that I feel like I will always struggle with. There's an area of me that I want to be correct. I know Brene Brown talks about being right and getting it right. So I struggle with that. I know that I can have dialogue with people back and forth. Brandon Anderson would say I argue a lot, but I will have dialogue with people to see where they're coming from, but I have to battle myself to not prove to them that my perception or perspective, whichever one we're talking about, is correct. My lovely wife, who is in Ireland right now, she's having a great time with her mom. She would say that I argue and will go back and forth. And so I have to really dial it back and say, from her seat in the stadium, where is she coming from with this? I cannot penetrate your perspective. Is that what the guy said the other day?
No,
I cannot
you didn't.
penetrate your perspective right now, which basically means you're wrong. Just kidding. I would never say that. I know I would get punched in the mouth. So I have to be mindful of that. I think sometimes I just like to understand where people are coming from, and I want them to see my perspective. But not everybody needs to. It's okay to just recognize where people are coming from and being okay with it. And sometimes not even having a reply. Just being like, cool, I appreciate you sharing that with me.
But then do you think about, if you have that kind of response, do they think I was actually listening? If you don't, I wonder if you, because I feel like when I talk to you, I want to hear your opinion, and it makes me wonder if that conversation is happening, does it feel like I get to share, you get to share, we get to share, we get to see different sides of this? And if you answer unlike you, which is shorter, a little bit more dry, does it bother you later of like, did they actually think I was listening?
Do you think that's the point of the conversation, is to go back and forth?
I mean, I guess I'm going to pull a marathon and say, tell me the definition of a conversation.
So conversations, in my perspective, could be that it is a back and forth. But what if you come up and you just say, hey, I need to put something out there, right? Maybe you come home and Carrie's talking to you and you're listening and you don't need a reply aside from, or the great conversationalist statement, that's crazy, and let them keep talking. I'm so mindful of that now because I've told so many people, if you just want people to continue to talk or you don't know what to say, that's crazy. That's nuts. No way. Maybe I won't do that. But,
that's a crazy thought, right?
It is, right? Oh my gosh. So I think you have to recognize not all conversations require the response back aside from being the listener, because sometimes people just need a sounding board.
Yeah.
If they ask, what are your thoughts on that? I'm happy to share it. Sometimes I just listen to people because I'm trying to work on this piece and just hear what they have to say, and being a listener So I would say in that if I'm being too short, maybe I'm just being a listener. Or maybe I just don't want to talk to you, Rachel. Goodness gracious.
I think
Quit pressing me.
if I have an interaction with you, like I can tell when you're busy. Like you also will just say like I have a lot of things on my plate, and I like really value that. But I do feel like, if you're ever short, and I'm like, where'd he go? Like, what's up?
Where's
like
the guy?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely, which I know it could be different for everybody, but I definitely value. I love talking to you guys. Like I told both of you, like listening to podcasts, I was like, it was made for me. This was specifically made for me. Just like when, down at the other building working, haven't seen you guys in a long time, I can listen to the podcast and laugh with you guys. And I'm like, it's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Well, if I'm ever short, please call me out and I'm down with that.
I do feel like I could do that.
Yeah, I do too.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Yep.
Made me think.
Yep. This is a safe space. We just be putting it right out there.
Oh yeah. Well, why not? Like
Right
life's
out there
too
to
short to
everybody.
not put it out there because you know how many people you can help if we all just realize that we all have struggles and weaknesses and parts of us that's like a bruise every time it's touched. Like life would be so much better if people just be okay not being okay. Just figure out what you're gonna do about it.
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing how people process that if they're not doing okay, whatever they were taught, whether it be directly or indirectly from their experiences of how you handle that. It's so wild seeing how people handle that, and it's foreign to us sometimes, and other times it's like, oh, I've seen that person before, and figuring out, do I say something or do I just keep on going? When you meet that person in the hall and you're like, hey, how are you? I'm okay, or I'm not good. And you're like, cool, have a good one. I'm gonna go sip my coffee down the hall.
I need to put in PTO, Shalyn. I don't want to see this person anymore.
Yeah, what do you say to that guy? So I will say it's nice when someone does pause and recognize, even if you're like, yeah, I'm okay, and they like follow you or they have a moment of like, what's going on, and you really appreciate that. Maybe sometimes you regret it because then 3 hours later, but not really regret it. But it's I do think it's really nice when people recognize that. I would say it's more common in empaths, or you see it in your friends, people that know who you are and are willing to be there for you. It's nice, and that's one thing I appreciate about this team is people do care. It's uncommon amongst the uncommon, which is nice. So I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you too.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay, we usually finish up with a rapid fire recap. We are going to get to rapid fire questions in a minute, but I did want to give you the opportunity to rapid fire recap our discussion on perceptions. And the recap could just be what you want people to take away from our conversation about perception.
Well, I'm not as prepared as these two. I'm just sitting here with sweaty palms, and they've got notes and pencils and stuff. So I'll give it my best shot. If I could give you a 15-second, please remember this, is be okay not being okay. Be bold. Always look to see the other side of a situation, even if you have to kind of force yourself to do so. And try Chipotle Gouda cheese.
I'm getting that tonight. I'm going to the grocery store, and I'll probably forget it, but I'm texting you.
I'm so glad you brought it back to the cheese. Who doesn't love cheese?
You don't need the meat sweats. You need the cheese sweats.
That's right. I'm going to be looking for this person at Harris Teeter who can talk to me all about cheese now.
What was the monger? Cheesemonger.
Cheesemonger.
I'm going to go up to the counter. What's up, cheesemonger? What's happening? What's popping?
Yeah, I do
Read me
think
these
if you go to, just a pro tip, if you go to a Harris Teeter that also has the pizza and the cheese thing, they're not a cheesemonger. They're the pizza baker. Big difference. So I've tried to have the conversation with that person who's doing the pizza, and mind you, the pizza's great, but they are not into cheese. They're just like, okay, you can leave.
Okay, I can tell you.
Do you want pizza?
Certified.
I'm like, hey, do you guys have such a cheese? They're like, do you want pizza? And I'm like, no, I actually want to talk to you about cheese. I don't want pizza. But yeah, So, just a pro tip.
When you're at the Harris Teeter. Okay, now we're ready for rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
No.
All right, I'm going to start off. We'll go back and forth, and you just give us the answer that comes to mind.
Oh, that's going to be scary.
Okay, ready? The first one. Fill in the blank. Morris-Jenkins is...
This is you.
Cool.
Down, cool. All right, question number 2. What is something that people often get wrong about you?
Oh, God. I don't know. I don't want to think about this. Jesus Christ, these are hard. I hope we can pause this because this is going to be painful. For real, we need to pause it. Something people get wrong about.
What does that guy say? It's live action. Yay!
Oh my God.
Did that make it better or worse?
I've never heard
I'm
you
just-
make that sound before in my life.
Okay.
I feel like something Sam Broadbeck would
Let's
say.
begin. We're ready.
What is something that people often get wrong about you?
I'm okay not being okay.
Final answer?
Yes, and I do want to give a brief explanation because I think that sounds weird. I think I've had a lot of interaction, especially with techs in the field. When they were my students, they, you have this like, we're getting class done, we're teaching, very organized. Like, of course, we make mistakes, but they're usually like behind the scenes, right? So I've definitely had a lot of conversations with techs where they're like, oh, like I know you've never done something like that before. And I'm like, no, I've definitely done something like that before. You have to understand, like, the interaction you have with me is because I've practiced it and I go in the bathroom and cry. So I am human. I am okay not being okay. I'm okay when I come here to help you, I need you to know I'm not going to have every answer. And I'm okay saying, I don't know what to do here. And I feel that's really caught people off guard, just the pure, like, openness of, like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't have all the answers.
I think we can all take a page out of that book.
Yep.
It's okay not to be okay. Appreciate that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's probably going to be easier because I've heard you talk about these.
God.
No, this is not.
Oh, yeah, it might go along with the other thing we talked about. Okay, what's the last show you binge watched and loved?
Oh my God. The last show that I binge watched and loved, so I actually just finished it, and honestly, I am telling you, I am pissed with the way it ended. And I Googled it, and when everyone else was pissed too, The Blacklist.
Oh.
Dang, I haven't watched that. Is it good?
Dude.
Till the end.
It is good. Even the end, like, I get it. But it was just like you're just so involved in these characters, and there are two just like freaking whack, just cut you down, and you're like, what the heck? Okay. Then they kind of bring other people in, you're like, all right, I kind of, I can live without it. But I literally, it was, see, it was today, Friday. I ended it, I believe it was Tuesday night. And Netflix tried to move a quick one on me after it ended and was like, we're going to go ahead and start playing this one. Would you like to watch it? And I paused it and I said, no, I need time to process. And I just sat there with my cat on my bed doing my embroidery and just like stared off into space. And I was like, did that? I went back to the series to make sure that was actually the end. And then I proceeded to hot thumb, smoking thumb, Googling, was that really it? And is there another one? And it was it. But it was really good up until that point. So watch The Blacklist. Just honestly, just don't even watch the last episode. Just, you're better off leaving it on a cliffhanger.
Noted. All right, give us a concert you'll never forget.
Oh, gosh. Hall and Oates.
Why?
Oh, my God. Why?
Why?
You fool.
That
Hall
might be
and
something
Oates?
people often get wrong about you.
Why?
Oh, man. It was just the energy, the, like, mix of people, and it was like probably the one concert I went to that I could sing along to most songs. Just like it was just the perfect mix of people. And the vibe on the stage was not overkill. It was exactly what I expected, and it was beautiful, and I would 100% go see them 100 million times.
100 million.
100 million.
It's one less now.
Honestly, would never have guessed you for a Hall and Oates.
Can
we go back to what is something people often get wrong about you? A Hall and Oates fan.
Oh, man. Oh, yes. Yeah.
She's squirming around in her chair right now.
That's so funny. Okay, this one, I don't know, though. We also love food. What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal. Oh, no. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Yep.
Oh.
Whatever you want.
Oh, no. Favorite meal is pollo con queso from Monterey.
I really like that accent you just had. Do it again.
I can't. Every single time, if you ever go, the Monterey in Pineville, but you must add broccoli and peppers or it's not as great. But I will smash the whole thing and probably throw up and finish it. So it's so good.
It's quite the image. All right, last one. Final one. Actually, no, it's not. Kidding. Give us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that brought you great joy.
I don't know if this falls for that, but it's the first thing that came to my head. An ordinary moment is yesterday I was having a meeting with Edward and Catherine, and I've been working on a filtration class. And I feel like I say ordinary to give compliments because I feel like we just do it so often. Like we're always just really encouraging in general in this like culture of Morris-Jenkins. But Edward made the comment, we were wrapping up our meeting, and he made the comment, I said, what do you think about this so far? You know, whatever. Anyways. And he said, sheesh, you've done years of work in just 2 months. And I don't think he realized just how much that meant to me. Like I text Shawn about it. I text Carrie about it. Like, and I've just been thinking about it. Like, I do sincerely think that's what made me wake up today and sit up in bed with my eyes open and smile. Like I really don't think he knows how much that meant to me.
You should tell him.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did. I texted him last night, just like I keep thinking about it. Like it meant so much. Yeah.
That's
Shout
awesome.
out, Edward.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, shells. All right, last one for
Okay.
real this time. What is one thing you are deeply grateful for right now?
Honestly, this is cheesy, but I'm gonna say it. My work family, like the picture of us from the gala, like just the relationship I have with you guys, like being able to come to work and feel appreciated and trusted every day, and know that if I need someone, anyone on our team, even our two newest members, shout out Darren and Jeff, I sincerely am so grateful. Carrie's family that obviously I've married into, but as far as like blood family, I don't have any that live here. But you guys are my family, and I'm so incredibly grateful for you guys.
We're grateful for you, too.
Thanks, Rachel. So sweet. Don't make me cry. You know, I get close every single episode, but don't make me cry, okay? Okay, the last thing, we asked Rachel to give us 5 songs, and this was really hard for her. So, but she has picked some. We're going to tell you what the 5 songs are. The last time I screwed this up because I can't say the names right. So
Did you hear the last one? Skrills.
Oh,
Skrills.
Excuse me, Mr.
I paused
Skrillex.
it in my truck and was just like, have I been saying that wrong? Which I say things wrong all the time, but I was just like,
Oh, no. You haven't. It's just her. So how do you get Skrillex messed up?
see, I love that imperfection about you, Meredith. Look at
Thanks for
that.
bringing that back.
Okay, so we got 5 songs. And so it was like top 5 songs. What are they? And so she came up with like regions of her life, like the gym, pre-gaming,
Regions.
feeling good in party. So the very first one, going to the gym. Ferge. No, I'm just kidding. Fergie. Just kidding. It's Fergie. Hungry. And featuring Rick Ross. You want to sing it for us?
No.
Okay. Just checking. All right. Hit us up with the next one, Meredith.
This is her feel-good party song, Cooler Than Me, Mike Posner.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Posner? I don't know how to say his last name.
He probably would answer to anything.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Actually, Gabe Kirchner was just talking about him. He has a podcast. Did you know?
I did not know that, actually.
Oh, yeah. He just texted it to me yesterday.
I like him, but specifically that song is just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just, something about it.
It was a hit. I didn't even recognize how many new songs he had. I looked it up yesterday, and there's all kinds of songs that I've heard, and I said, I didn't even know that was him. And then old Gabe came in and told me about that yesterday, and then boom, here it is.
Check that out.
Okay, next one is her pregame song, Red Drum by 21 Savage. Sing it.
No.
Okay.
But you better listen to it. What does that spell backwards?
Murder.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Carrie just told me that. I had
You
no
didn't
idea.
know that?
Well, I didn't think about it. Honestly, when I first heard the song, I'm like driving, I have Google Maps on, and it came on, and I was like, oh, I like this. And so I hit the screen to like show me what it was, and I was like, redrum? Red drum? What is this? So I was talking to Carrie about it, and I was like, hey, will you play red drum?
Redrum?
She's like, red drum? Red rum? Re-rum? It was chaotic. And she's like, okay, anyways, do you know what that spells backwards? And I was like, no, what? I'm terrible at spelling. She's like, murder. And I was like, oh, that's why I like it.
Have you not seen The Shining?
Nah.
What? Have you seen The Shining?
You already know the answer to that.
Come on, it's not that scary.
I'll watch scary things. Well, clearly
Guys.
the whole ring thing I got mixed up. That was a whole nightmare.
The Shining, that's where that came from. All right, next one.
When Rachel is in her feels. The Night We Met by Lord Huron. I listened to all of them.
I had to listen to them previous because the next one I got way wrong. So she sent us these songs, and it was Ruby Red, and then it says Any Place, Anything, and I was like, I can't find this song anywhere, and she was like, no, it's any song, anything, any of her songs, and I was like, well, no wonder I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I too could not find. I'll have to try again. Anything by Ruby Red. Are you finding
anything.
a song?
Well, in case someone asked me, I'm telling you, I'm not even kidding. There's so many. I could not just pick one. It was like, put a gun to my head and it's not happening. I'm dying. Too Late is one of my favorite. Desert Star and How Should It Feel? There's so many more, but they're probably
Any of them.
my top three.
Top 300.
Any of them.
Any of them.
And I actually found them by mistake. I went to a concert of 2 Feet, and they were the opener for the concert. And I fell in love and obsessively listened to them. It was really bad. You know how Spotify at the end of the year does like, you listen.
Here's your songs.
I was in their top, like, I literally tagged them in it because I can't even remember the number right now, honestly, but it was insane. Like, no one knows them. I was offended.
Did they message you back?
No.
Oh, come on, Ruby Red.
They're like really nerdy guys that aren't super popular, but I am their number one fan.
Okay, my last question. What does this playlist say about Rachel Eleanor Griswold?
Is this question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that it says you never know what you're going to get.
Okay. Okay.
That is 1,000%
It's
accurate.
the truth.
That's why I said I need to put these in categories because if I just listed these songs, someone's going to think I'm not okay because they are just...
Well, and also Hall and Oates did not make the list, which I can't believe.
Yeah, what the heck?
That I would agree that with that statement 1,000%. You never
She
know
comes
what you're
popping
gonna
around
get.
the corner. It's like, okay. She just comes around
Who
the
do we
corner.
have
What's up?
today?
Yeah, who is it today?
Yep.
That's why we love you.
That is absolutely right. Okay, well, that is it, folks. We have traversed a long path today from cheese all the way to Hall and Oates.
And perception.
Oh my gosh, it's all the things in
Wait,
between.
is that what we were talking about?
We hope that you have enjoyed our second interview / co-hosted podcast. Thank you so much for being here, Rachel.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
So honored. I've been living on that high since the day you asked me. It meant so much.
Yes.
We're
well,
honored to have you.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, guys, follow us on Apple or Spotify. Look for Easy Does It so that you don't miss any new episodes that drop. Check out the Q&A question that will be on Spotify for you when the episode posts. We appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace, love, and Easy Does It.
Appreciate y'all.